All right, we are going to go into now a second exercise, which is going to teach you a really important research and argument skill, and that is summarizing. So basically, there are three ways to avoid plagiarism in your own writing. And the first is summarizing. This is when you put general information that you learn from your sources into your own words and you give the author credit. The second way that you avoid plagiarism is called paraphrasing. And that's where you restate more specific points in a way that's closer to how the author wrote it and giving the author credit. And the third way is to use direct quotes, where you copy some of the author's exact words, but you're putting them in quotes and giving the author credit. So we're going to practice the first one, which is putting things in your own words, also known as summarizing. So remember back to our is it plagiarism or not exercise when Joe was writing about fly traps in soil, how at first he just copied that passage? Let's look at that again. Okay, here's the passage. From Joe first, this plant happens to grow in dirt that is too low in nitrogen to meet its needs. To make up for that lack of nitrogen, it gets it by eating insects. Okay, here's the original article. Venus flytraps happen to grow in soil that is too low in nitrogen to meet their needs. To make up for that lack of nitrogen, they get it by consuming insects. Okay, the problem is that Joe looked at the article while he was writing. It really helps if you don't do that. So instead, what he should do to summarize is read a section of the article first and then get the article completely out of sight. And then next, without looking at that article, he should think about the passage that he just read. So imagine Joe thinking to himself, the plant eats bugs because it needs something that the dirt doesn't have. Was it nitrates? Oxygen? And then explain it to someone else out loud. So imagine that Joe is talking to a friend and he says, okay, so Venus flytraps eat bugs, right? And they do this because they need something. I think it's oxygen. And the dirt they grow in doesn't have enough oxygen, and I guess bugs do, so they eat them. Once he has expressed what he knows about the article out loud to someone, then he should write his explanation on his own paper. The words should sound like Joe and not like the article. So here is the article summarized now in Joe's words. Venus flytraps eat bugs because they need oxygen, and the dirt they grow in doesn't have enough of it. Eating the bugs helps them get the extra oxygen they need. Now, only after this process has been gone through, after that's done, that's when Joe or you could go back to the original article to make sure that that information is right. So Joe's going to go back to that article and double check. Did he get that information correct now that it's been written? And he discovers, oops, that it's nitrogen, not oxygen, that the fly traps need. So now he can fix that. So what you're going to do now is write your own paragraph that explains how the Venus flytrap catches its prey. That's going to be this one little section right here. So you're going to read this part, and then after you read it, you're going to follow these steps. As you read, don't take any notes, just read that paragraph. And then right away, when you're done, look away from the text and turn the paper over, or you can minimize your computer screen and think about what it says. And then talk through it out loud in your own words. Still looking away from the draft, write your own paragraph. It should sound like you. Then you're going to go back to the text and check to make sure you got the facts right. Okay, so remember, read, think and talk about it to someone, write the draft in these two sections. You should remember that you're not looking at that article, and then double check after you've written your summary that you got it all correct. Okay, so if you're home, not with us in class today, for whatever reason, go ahead and go back in and write that paragraph. Summarize in your own words how a Venus flytrap catches insects. Just how they detect and capture them is what we're looking for here, not why or what happens next. Okay, so if you are done, if you went and did that and paused the video and you're done, great. If not, go back and do that and pause the video right now until you're done writing that summary. If you were working in a group today in class, you should have compared your paragraphs with others in your group and checked to see if anyone had plagiarized. If you were at home, you might have someone just read that paragraph and look at your own and see if they thought that it was in your own words, that it sounds like you, and that you're not borrowing from that article. If that all occurred, and maybe you discover that it sounds a little too much like the original, your own summary does, go back and revise it until you've got it right. And one last thing before we move on. Even though you have now summarized this idea, you still need to give credit to the source where you learned it. So let's see how Joe does that. He starts with the paragraph he just wrote. So here's his paragraph. Venus flytraps eat bugs because they need nitrogen, and the dirt they grow in doesn't have enough of it. Eating the bugs helps them get the extra nitrogen they need. So then he adds a few extra words at the beginning of his article to tell us where that stuff came from. For example, in, quote, the hungry Venus flytrap, unquote, with the comma inside, we always put quotation marks around titles of shorter works. Samantha Buglover explains that, and then we have his paragraph summary. But there's another way to do it. You can also put the attribution, is what it's called, at the end of your paragraph or in the middle. Venus flytraps eat bugs because they need nitrogen, and the dirt they grow in doesn't have enough of it, according to Samantha Buglover in The Hungry Venus Flytrap. Eating the bugs helps them get the extra nitrogen they need. Okay, so if you haven't already, go back to your own paragraph and give credit to the author. This sheet that I'm giving everyone a handout of in class, but that I will also have a digital copy of in our weekly folder, will show you more ways to do this. We will use this sheet in the next few exercises when we learn about paraphrasing and quoting. So you're going to come back to this again. So again, if you were in class today, we were working with a group and we shared our paragraphs to make sure that everyone got it right, the summary and the attribution to the author. So if you were not in class today, you're going to want to double check that on your own. Okay, that's the end of exercise 2, which is summarizing. If you were gone today, you're going to want to go to exercise number 3 next, which is going to talk to you about paraphrasing.